for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. This is Sita Priti Devdasi from Pune.
Hare Krishna Sita Priti Mataji, Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much Mataji for joining. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। गुड़गांव से मैं राधा सेविका माता जी। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण
प्रभुपाद जी जय। थैंक यू माता जी।
हरे कृष्ण राधा सेविका
बहुत अच्छा लगा। हरे कृष्णा। हाँ जी माता जी।
Thank you so much Mataji. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, thank you very much Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radharani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Tiffany Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much Mataji for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Radharani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji. This is Radha from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna Radha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much Mataji for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. All glories to Vaishnava. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much Mataji for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees. This is Vivek from Hyderabad. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vivek Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Prabhuji for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. This is Dhir Krishna Das from Reading, Pennsylvania.
Hare Krishna Dhir Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much Prabhuji for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Radharani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Padmasaki Devidasi from Florida.
Hare Krishna Padmasaki Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much Mataji for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept our humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj and all the assembled devotees. This is Dinabandhu Guru Das and Lalita Devi Dasi from Sandy Ridge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Dinabandhu Prabhuji and Lalita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much Prabhuji and Mataji for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Radharani Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Kaumodiki Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Is there anybody else who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Radharani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Devidasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna Shyama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much Mataji for joining. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody else who would like to introduce themselves?
Prabhuji has not joined yet, right?
Yes. Shall we start introduction or we'll wait for Prabhuji Mataji?
No, we will wait, Mataji. We might, come late. I don't know.
Okay, no problem. Mataji, we'll wait.
There are many devotees on the call. They can introduce. they can go ahead and tell their name and where they are from. That way, we know we can get we connect with each other through this call. So thank you very much.
Yeah, the devotees who would like to introduce themselves, you can please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Radha Damodar Das and Radha Maya from Austin, Texas. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radha Damodar Prabhuji and Atma Maya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Prabhuji and Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Vamshidhari Gopal Das from Charlotte. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisance.
Hare Krishna, Vamshidhari Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Jai Radhika Devidasi from Charlotte. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Jai Radhika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna. Anybody who are new to this call or would like to introduce themselves, you can please go ahead till Prabhuji did not comment.
Jai Radhika Mataji, can you check when Maharaj is going to join?
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining our Bhakti Sangha conference call. And we have classes in the morning, Bhagavatam class at the 7:20 timing at our timing like Charlotte and North Carolina and Eastern time, but it's the same time in India. It's 5:50 p.m. And before that we do chanting for 3 hours, and then later at 8:30 we again chant for 1 hour, and then we have Chaitanya Charitamrita class. And
Hare Krishna Mataji, sorry for interrupting, but Guru Maharaj is joining in like 2 minutes. He's trying, so he said he'll be joining in 2 minutes.
yes, Mataji, thank you so much, Mataji, for making sure. Okay, so and also we have kids classes for the different age groups, uh, 2 years old and 2 to 6 and 8 to 11, and for the older kids also for 14 and above. So if anybody is interested in joining the classes and making progress in spiritual life, they can join the group. There is group link in the chat box. Yeah. So that way you will connect to the devotees. Thank you so much for joining Bhakti Sangha. Okay. Yeah. Radharani Mataji, you can start recording.
Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Sriman Kratu Prabhuji. Before handovering the call to Prabhuji, I would like to hand over the call to Tiffany Mataji to give the brief introduction about the Prabhuji. Tiffany Mataji, you can take the call.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. His Holiness Kratu Maharaj is a disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Maharaj has disciples in India, America, Canada, and various other places around the world. He and his wife Amrita Kelly Devi Dasi were initiated by Srila Prabhupada in the Toronto Temple in 1977. Following the most important instruction his guru gave, Kratu Das Maharaj has made spreading the teachings of Lord Chaitanya the prime aim of his life at a very early age. Despite receiving higher education and a good job, Kratu Maharaj followed the instructions of his guru and started preaching around the globe, around the clock. He visits different countries every year and conducts bhakti retreats, bhajan sadhyas, kirtan mela, and other devotional activities. He is the author of the book Sadhu Sangha, which is a compilation of evidences where he proves from scriptures as well as his life experiences the importance of Vaishnavas and devotees. Kratu Das Maharaj became a full-time devotee in ISKCON when Srila Prabhupada asked him one day, "How much are you doing for your body? How much are you doing for your soul? What work do you do?" Kratu Maharaj told him that he was an engineer. Srila Prabhupada instructed him that there are many engineers. You become a preacher. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for giving your very valuable time and association to us this morning and enlightening us on the topic Srimad Bhagavatam verse 5.1.27. I would like to hand over the call to you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Everybody can hear me? Can you confirm?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam Canto number 5 and we are having text 27. So I will just read everything myself. It's a long sloka, so better I do myself. Thank you. Tasminu hava upashamsilaha paramarsya sakala jivani kaya vasasya bhagavato vasudevasya Vitanam Sarana Bhutasya Srimad Charanaravindaravind Tasmarna Vigati Vigalit Param Bhakti Yoganubhavena Paribhavitantar Rudayadhikate Bhagavati Sarvesham Bhutanam Atma Bhute Pratyagatma Stadatmyan Visheshena Samiyuhu. So I'll skip word to word translation and go directly into translation, if you don't mind. Thus situated in the renounced order from the beginning of their lives, all three of them completely controlled the activities of their senses and thus became great saints. They concentrated their minds always upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the resting place of the totality of living entities, and who is therefore celebrated as Vasudeva. Lord Vasudeva is the only shelter of those who are actually afraid of material existence. By constantly thinking of his lotus feet, these three sons of Maharaj Priyavrat became advanced in pure devotional service. By the process of their devotional service, they could directly perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart as the Super Soul, and realized that there was qualitatively no difference between themselves and him. Purport. By his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. The Paramahansa stage is the topmost position in renounced life. In sannyas, the renounced order, there are 4 stages: Kutichak, Bahudak, Parivrajacharya, and Paramhansa. According to the Vedic system, when one accepts the renounced order, he stays outside his village in a cottage and his necessities, especially his food, are supplied from home. This is called the Kutichak stage. When a sannyasi advances further, he no longer accepts anything from home. Instead, he collects his necessities, especially his food, from many places. This system is called Madhukari, which literally means the profession of the honeybees. As honeybees collect honey from many flowers, a little from each. So a sannyasi should beg from door to door, but not accept very much food from any particular house. He should collect a little bit from every house. This is called the Bahudak stage. When a sannyasi is still more experienced, he travels all over the world to preach the glories of Lord Vasudeva. He is then known as Parivrajacharya. The sannyasi reaches the Paramahansa stage when he finishes his preaching work and sits down in one place strictly for the sake of advancing in spiritual life. As actually Paramahansa is one who completely controls his senses and engages in the unalloyed service of the Lord. Therefore, all three of these sons of Priyavrata, namely Kavi, Mahavir, and Savan, were situated in Paramhansa stage from the very beginning. Their senses could not disturb them. I think I also skipped translation also. I should have read translation. I'll read it later on, maybe purport first. We'll finish. I'll read again. Therefore, all three of these sons of Priyavrata, namely Kavi, Mahavir, and Savan, were situated in Paramhansa stage from the very beginning. Their senses could not disturb them, for their senses were completely engaged in serving the Lord. Therefore, the three brothers are described in this verse as Upasam Sila. Upasam means completely subdued. Because they completely subdued their senses, they are understood to have been great sages and saints. After subduing their senses, the three brothers concentrated their minds upon the lotus feet of Vasudeva, Lord Sri Krishna. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. The lotus feet of Vasudeva are everything. Lord Vasudeva is this reservoir of all living entities. When this cosmic manifestation is dissolved, all living entity enters the supreme body of the Lord, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who merges within the body of Mahavishnu. Both of these Vishnu Tattva are Vasudeva Tattva, and therefore the great sage Kavi, Mahavir, and Savan concentrated always upon the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva Krishna. In this way, they could understand that the super soul within the heart is the supreme personality of Godhead, and they could recognize their identity with him. The complete description of this realization is that simply by discharging the unalloyed form of devotional service, one can realize his self completely. The Param Bhakti Yoga mentioned in this verse means that a living entity, by dint of unalloyed devotional service, has no other interest than the service of the Lord. As described in Bhagavad Gita, Vasudev Sarvam Iti, Bhagavad Gita 7:19. By Param Bhakti Yoga, by elevating oneself to the highest highest platform of loving service, one can automatically be relieved from the bodily concept of life and see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, as confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Rudayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaramachintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. An advanced devotee who is known as a Sat or saint can always see within his heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Krishna, Shyam Sundar, expands himself by his splendid portion, and thus a devotee can always see him within his heart. Now I'll read the leftover translation, skipped translation. Thus situated in the renounced order from the beginning of their lives, all three of them completely controlled the activities of their senses and thus became great saints. They concentrated their minds always upon the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the resting place of the totality of living entities and who is therefore celebrated as Vasudeva. Lord Vasudeva is the only shelter of those who are actually afraid of material existence. Excuse me. By constantly thinking of his lotus feet, these three sons of Maharaj Priyavrat became advanced in pure devotional service. By the process of their devotional service, they could directly receive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They could directly perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart as the Super Soul, and realize that there was qualitatively no difference between themselves and him. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuramilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mahabhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rup Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, reading translation. Thus, situated in the renounced order from the beginning of their lives, all three of them completely control the activities of the senses and thus became great saints. They concentrated their mind always upon the lotus feet of Supreme Personality Godhead, who is the resting place of the totality of all living entities and who is therefore celebrated as Vasudev. Lord Vasudev is the only shelter of those who are actually afraid of material existence. By constantly thinking of his lotus feet, these three sons of Maharaj Priyavrat became advanced in pure devotional service. By the proofs of their devotional service, they could directly perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart as the Super Soul, and realize that there was qualitatively no difference between themselves and him. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gaurvani Pracharine, Nirvishesh Shunyavadi, Pachata Deshatarine. So, Lord Brahma's son are described, and great son, great son, third generation is described. So Maharaj Priyavat and Uttanapat, they were direct son of Lord Brahma, and they are also called Prajapatis, one who propagated the populace. So Maharaj Priyavat was a pure devotee of the Lord. Excuse me. And he was a very powerful king. And we know all that he, by the chariot wheel, he created 7 islands and 7 ocean. He had 7 sons, so he gave each one of them one worth, arthat, meaning one island. So Maharaj Priyavat sons, they were also pure devotees, and 3 of them are described here, and they were right from the beginning very renounced, and their names are given here: Kavi and Mahavir and Savan. These 3 sons of Maharaj Priyavrat, they were pure devotee, and they immediately, without going through their order of life, namely brahmachari, grahastha, and vanaprastha, they directly enter into the renounce order of life, sannyas. So Srila Prabhupada here is describing 4 order of sannyas. Sannyas means renounce order of life, and namely there are 4 divisions into sannyas life, and that is Kutichak, Bahudak, Paramhansa, and Parivrajacharya. So Srila Prabhupada is very nicely describing the renounce order of life, 4 stages in that. Actually, after 75, you enter into sannyas, and after 75, you enter into slowly and gradually into this 4 order of sannyas life. So Kutichak means, Kuti means a cottage. So you built a cottage just outskirt of your village, city, and you live in the cottage, simple living and high thinking. very simple, down to the ground, living off of your family members. So the food is supplied, necessity of simple, minimal necessity is supplied by their own relatives, especially son or brothers. So they supply food, maybe certain extent clothing and whatever simple needed things. So that is Kutichak beginning. And then one further advances into Bahudak order of life, sannyas life. Bahudak order of life means you disconnect yourself from your family members, meaning don't accept their food or anything from them. Of course, Maharaj Priyavrat and his offspring, they were all pure devotees. But sometimes if we take renounced order of life, our relatives are interested in material world, material happiness, material sense gratification, etc. So Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Maharaj, Raghunath Das Goswami, he was in Jagannath Puri, and his father was supplying food, so much food with cooks and servants. They would come every month and supply so much food. So after a while, he realized that Vishayara anna khaile dust hai man, that by accepting food from the people who are worldly minded and who are engaged in sense gratification, Vishay, if you accept food from them, then your consciousness takes up that quality of those people, their sinful activity or their piety or whatever. It comes along with the food. So you have to take their karma. So he said, even though his father were uncle and father, they were not sinful. They were very pious jamindar, majamundar. But he just thought, I should not accept the food provided, supplied by them. So he started begging his alms, day-to-day food, by standing near the Simha Ghat, Simha Dwar of Jagannath temple. So after a while, he came to realize that here I am doing prostitute is thinking this person has money and this person has no money, and she is hunting the man with the money and stuff like that. So he thought that it is just like a prostitute. This man will give me, this man will not give me, and this and that. So much dirty consciousness. So he renounced that begging near the Simha Dwar of Jagannath temple. And he then went to the garbage dump where
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
I'm sorry that the phone call came. Maybe I'll have to learn some technique from you all American devotees, because by putting aeroplane mode, I don't know whether you get that kind of sense. Anyway, so somebody called and got disturbed. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he thought that this is no good, begging at Srimad Bhagavatam. So he went to the garbage dump where Jagannath Prasad was thrown as stale rice. After 2-3 days, it becomes stale, and that is dumped into this garbage dump. So he went there, he collected the rice, necessary quantity, and then he washed that into the ocean water. He washed that with ocean water, and then he dried them up near his hermitage cottage, and he was taking every single day those dried rice. So one day Lord Chaitanya came, and he inquired from his secretary, Swarup Damodar Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami was given in charge to Swarup Damodar Goswami for learning everything and for training and all this education. So he says, Lord Chaitanya asked Swarup Damodar Goswami. So now he left his father's father supplied food, and then he stopped begging at Simhadar. So how he is eating, how he is sustaining. So then he said that whatever he was doing. So Lord Chaitanya went to his hermitage, and he said, Raghunath, you eating everyday feast, big feast, and you are not inviting me? So he started eating those dried rice, which was a feast for him, Jagannath Prasad. So Prasad Mahatmya, I wrote a book, very nice book on Prasad Ya Pap. Prasad Ya Pap.
I'm learning new tricks.
Okay. Okay. So, yes, I wrote one book called Prasad Ya Pap. Means either Prasad or you are eating sin. Sin or Pap. I mean, Prasad or sin. So that's a book, very nice book compiled by me. In that book, I have mentioned the importance of taking stale prasad or prasad left over by dogs, or prasad that is still coming from far distance, etc. Anyway, so coming back to our verse, so this is the Bhakti Siddhanta kya karte the?
One time there was some kutta ne khaya tha.
Yes. So Mataji is saying, she is also giving lecture along with me. So she is reminding me about, I didn't want her to go into this prasadam detail, but since she is reminding me. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur pastimes that one time in Govardhan Puja, one dog came and he bite prasadam from Govardhan Hill, Annakut rather. Annakut, one dog bite prasadam, and then everybody was not eating that prasad because it was looked upon by dog and stared upon by dog, and it was eaten by dog, so it became. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, they complained to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, where dog bite the prasadam. So then they saw him, and he just took that portion of beaten by dog, that portion, and ate it. So a prasadam never becomes contaminated, even by dogs or chandalas or whatever. Anyway, so this is the Kutichak and Bahudak. Bahudak, Prabhupada says that he goes door to door and he does Madhukari, and he says Madhukari means asking food from several grasta, several house, not just one house, just like honeybee collects honey from different flowers, not just one flower. Similarly, Bahudak supposed to go to different homes. It is described that Sukadeva Goswami was standing in front of any Grasta's house as much as you can milk the cow. Very little time. They give or they don't give, just keep moving from house to house. That is Bahudak, sannyas. And then he says Parivajakacharya and Paramhansa. So Paramhansa, Parivajakacharya. So Parivajakacharya means he goes around the world and preaches gospel of Krishna consciousness. So he extensively travels like His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj and other like His Holiness. So many devotees, they travel extensively. So that is Parivrajacharya. Srila Prabhupada used to travel very extensively. 14 times he circled the globe during 12 years of his preaching in the Western world. So extensive traveling. So that is Parivrajacharya. And then comes to Paramahansa stage. In Paramahansa stage, you may be 85, something, 90, sky is the limit, I don't know. So you sit down at one place, Vrindavan especially, and Raj, whole Raj. So you sit down and do bhajan, follow the Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajan rahasya, how he did bhajan, and Harinam Chintamani by Haridas Thakur, how he did his bhajan, and one supposed to sit down at holy place like Vrindavan and Vraj and just engage himself into transcendental, loving, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna, mainly meditation, mainly Raganuga path, and around the clock, one gets into intense bhajan. That is Paramahansa stage. Means one has to make this material world zero. Sunyaitam jagat sarvam Govinda virhena me. In the separation of Lord Govinda, whole world becomes zero. Sunyaitam, vacant. Meaning material world has nothing to offer me. And always mind is fixed in, Prabhupada writes in 8th sloka of Nectar of Instruction, Sravan Dasha, and then Sravan Dasha means one must hear the transcendental activities of Ragatmik Bhakta. Ragatmik means Nitya Siddha Bhakta, like gopis and Gwal Mitras and Nanmara, Jasoda, Siddha, Nitya Siddha Parikar, Ragatmik Bhakta. So he says, Tan Nam Rupa Charitadi Sukirtanano Smartyo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojit Tistan Rajeta Dhanuragi Jananuga Kalam Akhilam Niyat Tyupadesha Sharam, Nectar of Instruction, 8th sloka. That one should sit down in Raj in the final stage of life. And then what one must do? That Tan Nam, Krishna Nam, Tan Unka, his name, Krishna's name. Tan Nam Rupa Charitra. So Nam, Rup, Lila, Gun, Dham, Parikar. So one has to constantly chant holy name and internally with mind one gets into Apan Dasha and then finally Samadhi, Dasa or whatever is describing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is describing this Sravana Dasha and then all the way to 5th Dasha. One has to get into intense bhajan. That's what it means. That's a 8th sloka of Nectar of Instruction. And at the end, Srila Prabhupada says that one should do bhajan in such a way that he is trying to follow the Manjari, the Nitya Siddha Manjari, Rupa Manjari especially. So this is very important for us, for me rather, that at this stage we should get into Sunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govind, just zero every whole material body, material mind, material, anything material, just zero it and engage everything in Krishna's transcendental loving service. So that is Bahudak. I mean, that is Parivajakacharya stage, Paramhansa stage. So these Maharaj Priyavrata's all sons, they were pure devotee and engaged in transcendental loving devotional service to Krishna. So I don't want to go so much in detail. Prabhupada purport is very big, and he says in that purport that last arrow is poking into the target right in the center. He says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Rudayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achanta Gunasva Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That pure devotees, Santa Sadaiva, always Rudayeshu Vilokayanti. He sees Lord Sri Krishna within his heart, and externally also he sees Krishna everywhere. Because Sunyaitam Jagat Sarvam and Spurayate Nija Usta Spurti. Sthavar Jangam Dekhe Na Dekhe Tar Murti. Sarvatra Spurayate Nija Ishta Spurti. Nija Ist means Radha Krishna. Spurti means manifestation. He sees Krishna around the clock in everything and every corner, nook and corner. He sees Lord, and also he sees within himself, within the heart, Premanjan. And what is the qualification? Premanjan, Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. So that pure devotional service, which is Premanjan, which is the ointment for our eyes. And our eyes should be ointed with pure love of Krishna. And Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, with the eyes of pure devotional service. Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokaya. The devotee always sees with the eyes of pure devotional service. He sees Lord within his heart. Kam Shyam Sundaram, Chintaguna Swarupam. Shyam Sundar, he sees within his heart always that Shyam Sundar. So this is what should be aimed at the final stage of our life. And if not final stage, we want to wait. Srila Prabhupada has given us 16 rounds to chant. So we should, at least for 2 hours, I always say this, that at least for 2 hours while chanting, we should take instant temporary sannyas. 2 hours sannyas. And we should meditate on holy name of the Lord. We should meditate on his pastimes. We should meditate on his swarup, his form. We should meditate on his transcendental qualities. And out of 64 and unlimited qualities, 2 are most important qualities in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It says that Prem Niryas Karite Pracharan, Prem Niryas Karite Aswadan, Rag Marg Bhakti Jagate Karin Pracharan. Pracharan, and then he says Param Ras Krishna, Param Rashik, Cha Sekhar, Krishna Param Rasik. How does it go? Krishna, एक minute, I'll recall it. Karun, Param Karun. Rasik Shekhar Krishna Param Karun. Param Karun, that is the word. Rasik Shekhar. Krishna is Rasik Shekhar. Ras. He is Ras, transcendental mellow, and he is Rasik B. And he is the enjoyer, tasting. He is the enjoyer of transcendental Ras, mellow. Chandra Rasik Shekhar Krishna Param Karun. So Krishna, the first foremost quality out of all is that he is Rasik Shekhar. He is Ras, is Ras, Rasik Shekhar Krishna. He is Ras, Raso Vaisaha, Rasam Evayam Laptva, Anandim Bhavati. Gopal Tapni Upanishad. Krishna is Ras and mellow, transcendental mellow, and Krishna is enjoyer of that mellow also. And then another good quality, base quality out of all, is that Param Karun, he is the Bhakta Vatsal. That's also I'm writing that book, Bhakta Vatsal Bhagavan. So Krishna is Bhakta Vatsal. He is the topmost lover. In other words, he loves his devotees to the topmost level. He says to Uddhava, Uddhava is his most dear devotee, Uddhav. He trusted Uddhav for his legacy to be carried out. He didn't trust Pandavas or any other parikar like Nand Maharaj, Jasoda, Arjun, Rishis, Munis, Brahma. He didn't trust anybody. He trusted Uddhava that he will carry out my legacy after I leave. It's a big story. Bhagavatam was spoken like that to Uddhava in Badrika Ashram. But anyway, coming back to, he says to Uddhava that how much he loves his devotees. That he says, Na yatha me priyatam, na atmayonir, na sankaro, na sankarsano, na naivatma, na sribir naivatma, naivatma sribir.
Sribir Naivat. Tell us Sribir.
Sribir naivatma yatha bhavan. My devotees such as yourself are most dear to me, more than my very self, my very Atma, more than my dear son Brahma, my very soul, Lord Shiva, my wife Lakshmi, and even myself is not as much dear to me as my devotees such as yourself. And for that reason, I follow their footstep. Anuvrajami ham nityam puetya angrirenobi. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.14.15.16. So he's Bhakta Vatsal. So this is the meditation of a devotee. He meditates around the clock at the end of his life, where he reaches Paramahansa stage. Nothing is left. Sunyaitam Jagat Suram. Whole material world becomes null and void for him. Nothing to do with it. Just hit the target. Go hit the target. And target is also described in Chaitanya Charitamrita by Ramananda Rai to Lord Chaitanya in his Samvad, in his conversation. Target is Ramananda Rai says that Radha Krishna Kunja Seva Sadhya Ei Pai. Ei Sadhya Paite Nahita Arupai. The sadhya is one has to attain Radha Krishna's loving, transcendental, loving, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna in Kunjas, Nikunjas, in Vrindavan, in Braj. So that's the target. Target is to serve Radha Krishna in Braj. Radha Krishna Kunja Seva Sadhya Upai. Say Sadhya Paite na ar nahi upai. So this is Paramahansa stage. One should dive deep into meditation on Lord, engaging himself into Raganuga Bhakti. Lord Chaitanya's mission of coming, adventing avatar, coming down to this world, was to propagate Raganuga Bhakti. So he did that through his devotees such as Swarup Damodar and Rup Goswami and Raghunath Das, Rupanuga, Raghunath Das Goswami, Prabhupada, like that. So I will stop here. It's almost time for me to stop. I went over actually. I should have left some time for question and answers. Any question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for such a nectarian class and beautiful pastimes about the prasadam. I request all the devotees, if anybody have any questions or realizations,
I can't
please
hear
go
you.
ahead.
I can't hear you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for such a nectarian class and beautiful
Yes, I
pastime.
can't hear you still. Oh, sorry. I have a problem here. Sorry. Okay. Okay, now I can hear you. I'm sorry. It was a problem at my end.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for such a nectarian class and wonderful pastimes about the prasadam. And now I request all the devotees, if anybody have any questions or realizations to Maharaj, you can please go ahead. You can unmute and you can ask the questions. Or you can raise your hands, we can unmute.
Okay.
Hare
So
Krishna
no
Maharaj,
question. We
please
can
accept my humble obeisance. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for this nectarian class, Prabhuji. Today, for me, take home is like as you said, our sadhana, our chanting should be like a sannyas for 2 hours. So this is a very wonderful point for me, and thank you for raising this point. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you. Actually, everybody, everywhere you go, they ask this question. I can't concentrate my mind. So then the remedy is given by Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena tu uchyate. So vairagya and abhyas, constant practice, bringing mind back onto the holy name. So Krishna gives solution that you should go abhyas, try to bring your mind back to holy name, and then vairagya. So this is the solution. So 2 hours we should corner ourselves and think nothing of this world, cooking, cleaning, office and work, and so many thoughts and so many things to do during day. So that should be zero, and just take 2 hours sannyas. Any other question? Instant sannyas.
Hare
Any
Krishna
other-
Maharaj, please accept my humble
Yes.
obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you for giving such a wonderful class. I just want to know the verse that you were referring, if you can, because the voice was breaking at that time, about the 2 qualities of Krishna that's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita about the Rasik Shekhar Krishna.
Yes, Rasik Shekhar Krishna Param Karun. Ei dui hetu hai ichhar udgam. That's a verse. Rasik Shekhar Krishna Param Karun. Ei dui hetu hai ichhar udgam. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Krishna is Rasik Shekhar. He is the taster or enjoyer of transcendental mallows, and he is also very, very magnanimous or karun. He is very merciful. That's the word. For those 2 reasons, tasting mallow and to bestow his mercy onto a living entity, preaching, for preaching Raganuga Bhakti. Lord Chaitanya, Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya. So that's a verse. Rasik Shekhar Krishna Param Karan, Ei Dui Hetu Hai Ichhar Udgam. And before that, the sloka is just one before that. The sloka is, which I try to quote and didn't quite recall. And I won't, let me recall that Prem Ras Niryas, Prem Niryas Karite Aswadan. Prem Ras Niryas Karite Aswadan. राग मार्ग भक्ति करिते राग मार्ग भक्ति जगते लोके करते प्रचारण. That's a verse.
Yeah,
Here it
thank
is. Somebody
yeah,
put it down.
yeah, I got it. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you,
Yeah, thank
Maharaj.
you.
Thank you so
Great.
much. Hare Krishna.
Here we go. Yes. Prem Ras. So the words. Prem Ras Niryas Karite Aswadan. Prem Ras Niryas Karite Aswadan. Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Karite Pracharan. And next sloka is Rasik Sekhar Krishna Param Karun E Dui Hetu Haite Ichhar Udgam. Translation. I'll read. The Lord desired to appear the Lord desired to appear was born. The Lord's desire to appear was born from two reasons. The Lord wanted to taste the sweet essence of the mellow of love of God, and he wanted to propagate devotional service in the world on the platform of spontaneous attraction. Thus, he is known as supremely jubilant and as the most merciful of all. So that's the translation. Thank you. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Anant Koti Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Maharaj, thank you very much for your nectarian class. We are so lazy that not able to sit in one side and reading Srimad Bhagavatam more than 15 or 20 minutes. Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Okay, if no question, we can terminate the class.
Devotees, if nobody have any questions, we can end the call here.
Hare Krishna.
I think somebody asked a question.
I just want to offer my obeisances to Amrita Kali, my god sister, and to Kratu Maharaj. This is Lalita Devi Dasi. We were together in Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Old friend.
Hare Krishna.
I will call my
nice
wife. Both of you are there. Wonderful. I was taken right from your husband in my. That's wonderful. That's wonderful to have old friends, that son. Wonderful.
Thank you.
So I'll have her here. Thank you, Lalita. We are wonderful, wonderful time together. Lalita, you know Lalita? It's okay, you put the sari on. I mean, sari don't have. You put it on her, that's it. She has to, here she is.
Hare Krishna, my Hare Krishna, my dear. Very
Hare
good.
Krishna.
So wonderful.
I'm very happy to see you.
Same here. Hare Krishna.
You taught my wife how to cook.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You are still in California, is it San Francisco?
No, we moved
You are
to
still
North
in San
Carolina.
Francisco, is it?
North Carolina.
Oh, Boise.
Yes.
No, not Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Whereabouts?
Sandy Ridge, North Carolina.
Oh, Sandy Ridge.
Yes.
Sandy Ridge, you say, no? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, yeah, that's the final. I saw you there, your husband. I saw him there. I forgot the name. I'm sorry. But I had a good ride from him in Maipur in his little rickshaw or whatever you call it. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay.
Hare
Let's
Krishna,
end
Kratu
our
Prabhu.
call.
Hare Krishna,
Yes,
Kratu Das
Prabhuji.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hey, hey, my old friend.
Jai
My old
Radhe.
friend. Aniruddha, Aniruddha?
Rajamni.
No.
Rajamni, Prabhuji.
Thank you, bro. Huh? No, Aniruddha or something. Thank you, Washington, D.C.
Hare Krishna, Pradyumna from Baltimore.
Oh, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Aniruddha ni Pradyumna. Thank you, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Baltimore, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Really,
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hari, Hari.
Thank you so
Let's
much for your wonderful association,
Hare
Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
thank you so
Thank you.
much,
That was
Maharaj.
Radha,
Hare Krishna, Guru
Radhika
Maharaj.
from North Carolina. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Manjari.
Hare Krishna.
Anandini Manjari. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Gopinath
Pranam.
Prabhu.
So thank you so much,
Thank you,
Maharaj, for
Bhavka.
such an enlightening class today. We are very grateful to you. We look forward for your association, Maharaj. Let's pay our obeisances to Maharaj. Vansha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu vacha patitanam
पतितानां
pavanebhyo
पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila
जय
Prabhupada ki
Ki
jai.
Jai.
Sriman Kratu Maharaj ki jai.
Hi.
Krishna Maharaj, Dandvat Pranam. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for the beautiful